You're live.
All right, welcome everybody to your Healthy Self podcast. This is your host of the day, Kate Archibald, and really excited to be with everybody today. We got an awesome show lined up for you guys. So, um, as usual, want to just cover a few announcements. Last night we had an amazing hack, our Health Accelerator course. Talked about our challenge for the week is getting additional movement and stretching, getting some good walking in, maybe a yoga class or two over the next week, and really get your body moving and stretching. So um, make sure you follow through with the challenge. So if you're not a part of our hack community, go to acueastwest.com/hack. That's HAC. Make sure you get signed up for that if you're not already participating in that. And then our sponsor today is The Smart Medicine. Go to thesmartmedicine.com for the best in your supplement needs for Intergenius, stem boost for some immune function, and a good protein source, or energy multiplier, which I'm going to take in just a minute so I can wake up a little more. Um,
Good.
and
You need to
so
wake
our
up, Kate.
show today, we got some really cool stuff. We got Reagan here. Reagan, how's it going?
Good.
Awesome. And then we have a guest on today. This is her Mandy Podlesny. She through rigorous exploration and biohacking, Mandy discovered the healing power of ketosis, shifts in her thinking, dietary choices, and lifestyle changes for chronic illness. With her health beginning to improve, she felt an intense desire to give back and help. So since 2016, Mandy's helped others visualize their own roadmaps of success, whether they're keto or burrito. I like that. To drop the weight and fix their relationship with food, all while learning to love themselves exactly as they are. So I'm I'm gonna kind of hand it over to Reagan and Mandy. I'll be in the background as well, but Reagan's you're much better at asking questions than I am, so I'm gonna pass it to you. Andy, welcome to the show. I'll hang.
Hello, thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Kate. And I don't know that I'm better at asking questions, but let's dive in because ketosis is really interesting, and I've been excited to have you on the show, Mandy, because you've got this interesting journey that you can share with so many of our members about the relationship with food. And I can tell you,
Mhm.
my relationship with food when I'm in ketosis is 10 times better than when I'm eating carbs. And I love bread. My wife makes like the world's best bread. I mean, Cade, we have to like ration him because he'll eat a loaf, I'll eat a loaf. And so so yeah, so let's talk about that. But tell me about your journey. How did you get so interested in food and ketosis, and what was it that you were struggling with?
Thanks so much for having me first and foremost. I really appreciate the opportunity to just come on and educate, even if it doesn't matter. I just want to really, really, really help empower other people because I struggled for a really long time. So when I was 19, I was doing the normal 19-year-old stuff, going to college, working out, dating boyfriends, and, having girlfriend time and all of that. I bent down to pick up a shoe. My knee snapped, and what I thought was a routine meniscal tear actually turned into a 15-year journey of trying to figure out why my body was not calming the inflammation down. So it's just been I had an inflammatory response to a meniscal tear, and I was misdiagnosed for about 10 years, bouncing between orthopedics and rheumatologists. I'm sure your audience can definitely relate to all of that stuff,
Mhm.
saying I was crazy, saying that food didn't impact things. And I just got frustrated, especially being so young. I was just trying to, one, live my best, fun, happy young life, but also to heal my body. And what it takes from a nutritional supplemental standpoint is a whole ton of time and commitment. So I was actually developing food relationship issues in the midst of all of this as well. And it wasn't until my dad looked at me one day, I was like so severely underweight. I was eating kale and chicken. I could barely pick up my bag from the baggage claim. He literally looked at me and he goes, "You look like like that's just my dad." A direct like pattern interrupt, slap in the face, and I was like, "Well, you're not wrong." And that started my quest to really just commit to my health and wellness journey. And once I stopped listening to all the blogs and Google rabbit holes and just stuck to 5 things: nutrition, movement, self care, sleep, and hydration, I started to really like heal and whatnot and get some results. So that's kind of how it started. And that's why I'm here.
Oh man, well, we got to thank your dad for just calling you out, right?
I know sometimes, you don't want to hear the thing that is the elephant in the room, but it's the thing that you actually need to address.
Yeah, and I like those 5 pillars that you approach. We tell people when it comes to nutrition, the first thing you want to look at is hydration, because that's what can make or break your appetite, and that can kill you from the very get-go if you don't start your morning with some good hydration. So let's, I mean, and before we jump into all the mechanics, which I'm really excited to talk about, and we could get super nerdy.
Mhm.
So tell me about your knee and this inflammatory reaction. Did you notice that foods were triggering it? Is that what was that your correlation, or how did you get to that conclusion?
I think it was it's really easy for us to like focus on like one solid thing and be like, oh, this one solid thing is going to be the solution, whether that's removing gluten or changing your diet or taking supplements. We just think it's not just that simple. Our bodies are complex, but they also know what they need to do.
Mhm.
But I just went in the food way because that's just what I had been Googling for 10 years and just went that avenue. Um, and essentially, I was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, and I have an HLA-B27 gene that just activates an inflammatory response for whatever reason. We haven't really found the reason, but I have my life back through the power of using pure therapeutic ketones, doing the ketogenic diet, and but I don't do it fully. Like, so don't freak out, everybody. I'm not like that a zealot or anything. I teach flexibility, but by doing lifestyle changes has gotten my life back. Now, do I have a complete resolution? No, but I have spared my joints from further surgeries, and really just revolutionized just from where I was to like where I am now. And I have a full happy life now because of all the principles that I apply. So it just took a really long time. I had my knee replacements. I had 2 knee replacements and a left knee revision and an elbow surgery and an ankle surgery. So yeah,
Wow,
it's a lot.
that's so much. And if you could go back in time, what advice would you have given yourself, when these injuries first started?
Yeah, I would say attack it head on and don't avoid it. I don't think if I wasn't so young trying to like have a young fun life, like going out with my friends and like partying and like doing the 21 to 25-year-old thing, and actually focused on it and really had an awareness of like this inflammation's literally destroying my joints. I
Yeah,
didn't have that like attachment, and I just by the time I woke up and realized, I was like, "Oh my god," and then I had to go through all these surgeries. So I don't think I would have had those surgeries if I would have taken it seriously from the beginning and really had an understanding of how much inflammation really impacts your body. But I wouldn't change anything because I'm here now. So
sure. No, you can help a lot of our patients, and I can't tell you how many people I've had the same conversation with, like, that, hey, you're young, we can help this thing heal, you don't need the surgery, but you've got to make some lifestyle changes. And oftentimes they don't take it serious, and it's really difficult as a practitioner to watch somebody, and that, hey, the things are going to keep deteriorating. You've got an autoimmune condition, especially if you got the HLA variant, then your body's super susceptible to mycotoxins, which is all over, and especially in the processed foods. So I'm sure that just by eliminating those, you turned off that autoimmune response. And now I mean, what's your energy levels like now? What do your joints feel like now? I mean, I know you've had surgery, so they're probably not perfect, but what's it like now?
well, I referred to myself as the baby dinosaur just because that's kind of how I related to people. I didn't really know I'm really fully like self-deprecating. And I'm an open book. Like I will literally answer any question or help whoever wants to help. I don't have any of that. My joints right now, um, I'm better 100%. Like I have a little bit of a little walk still, like a whatnot, a
Like a
limp, I guess you
10-foot
could
walk?
say. Yeah, but I can walk and I golf and I, still building my body back to, I was so atrophied. Like I'm just amazed over the last 2 years of really focusing on like working out, walking, playing golf, eating well, and really targeting the inflammation response. I just significantly am so much better. Am I 100% no? Am I frustrated? Yeah. Do I want to get to the root cause? For sure. I'm still working that out, but I have my life back and I'm not a victim of my disease.
Yeah. So that's phenomenal. And do you explore with peptides at all, like BPC 157, thymosin beta 4? Have you looked into that at all?
Nope, nope. But I am open to hearing all about it.
So yeah, so these BPC 157 specifically activates the growth hormone receptors in your joints. And so anytime growth hormone is prevalent in joint space, then deterioration isn't prevalent. It's also, they're angiogenic, so they help with new vascularity. And then they calm down the tumor necrosis factor alpha. So that's one of your long-term drivers of inflammation. So anyway, we won't dive into that. It's not one on peptides, but I'm a peptide nerd. So look into those two peptides. It will save you in the long run.
Thank you.
Um,
Awesome.
so we've got just some incredible people in our community who have regenerated their joints. They've avoided surgery. We've helped them overcome autoimmunity. And so one of the things that I wanted to really talk to you about is this idea of being in ketosis, because there's some extreme versions of it. It sounds like you're kind of a more balanced version. I go
Mhm.
through variants right now. I'm in an extreme 30-day ketosis pattern, and so tell me about your thoughts on it, and maybe you could explain what ketosis is and why it's important.
Yeah. So ketosis is just your metabolic state when you go from being a sugar burner to a fat burner. I didn't start this journey for fat loss. So often, so many people are like, well, how much weight did you lose? Well, losing weight is a byproduct of ketosis. It's not like it's a very great benefit, but it's not really like it's a great way to lose weight, but it's not like there's so much more to it. There's so much healing power to it. Harvard did a study because I couldn't figure out why I was having such great results. So I actually started out and discovered the power of pure like ketosis because I drank exogenous ketones
Mhm.
and I just couldn't wrap my head around it because it just was like kind of against everything that my thought process was. I'm like, how do you like it doesn't make sense. Like, but I did some research and I saw a study from Harvard where being in ketosis actually blocks the inflammasome markers. So while I was drinking these ketones, I was like, okay, well, supplements, I love them fully, like think that they're great tools, but you can't just out supplement a huge problem. So
Yeah.
I really wanted to change my diet and actually get my body into a nutritional state of ketosis. The problem is most people don't want to commit to the 6 to 8 week process it takes to get fat adapted. And then once you're fat adapted, you like then that's when like the magic happens and then you have to keep going because then you can't have any pizza. So I think utilizing pure therapeutic ketones as a tool, but also getting your body in ketosis because of the healing power really does help. It really gives you the benefits of mental clarity, better energy, focus, fat loss, obviously, and DNA repair, anti-aging benefits. Like all of that stuff is such an amazing like healing opportunity if you do ketogenic diet. But again, I really want to have some of your bread that you're talking about. So I teach that flexibility. So yeah.
Sure. So do you have like a carb day once a week, or what's your flexibility pattern look like? Or if someone just serves you up a nice slice of sourdough bread, you just might go for it.
Yeah, I just go for it. Listen, I do things from non-emotional standpoint. I eat to my goals. Right now I'm really just like focusing on high protein and building my muscles because I've been so atrophied and like that's a huge thing for me, just getting my leg muscles back. And it's been such a long road. I'm like, oh, but yeah, I just intuitively eat. And I don't really even like to say those kind of words. I guess more empowered eating. Like I'm not going to give that piece of bread a piece of power. Like That
Sure.
bread is delicious. It's meant to be enjoyed and give you pleasure, not guilt, shame, and sabotage. Like there's nothing wrong with enjoying a piece of bread. It's the bread and bread and bread and bread and bread and bread and bread over and over again.
Every
That
day.
is the problem. Yeah. So
God, well, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that I find is that every patient, to burn ketones, there's a little different variance. Men have a different metabolic burn rate than females do, and based on the cycle, based on the hormones that are prevalent in the body, if someone's in chronic stress, cortisol is going to cause gluconeogenesis. So even if you're eating 100% fats, no carbs, you're like, why do I keep gaining weight? Why can't I get in ketosis? Well, it's the stress. So there's
yeah.
multiple facets. What do you find the biggest mistakes are that people make when they're looking into a ketogenic diet?
Two mistakes are one, they don't really understand why they're doing it. They just saw because XYZ celebrity is doing the keto diet and they just are like, okay, I'm going to start on Monday. And then they start. And then 3 days later, they have detox symptoms. And then they're like, oh my God, well, this keto diet's making me feel gross, but don't really have this education that like you're not detoxing from the current diet, you're detoxing from all the poor choices prior. Um, so not really understanding the why and then understanding that it's going to take time. And then they just think I'm going to lose weight in 2 days and don't have that. So then they sabotage and say, I don't want to keep doing it. So those are the two things I notice a lot.
Yeah, because there can be the first 3 or 4 days, it can be a challenge when you're going to a adapted state because your body craves the sugars and rightfully so. From an evolutionary perspective, our digestive systems are just meant to pick up on the easiest things to give us energy. And now we live in a world where it's like, well, we can order food 24/7 with Uber Eats or DoorDash or
Ugh.
whatever crap you want
Oh
to
my
put
Lord.
in there. And so in the past, we actually had to look for food and we had to hunt for it and we had to, there had to be energy expenditures. And so the sugar was the easiest source, but our brains are hardwired for, the sugars and then the fats. And so the thing I love about the ketogenic diet is it scratches that sugar craving itch. So does anyone on the show today get sugar cravings? And actually, I know a lot of our members here. So that's
Had a sugar craving, Reagan?
never seen that in you, Cade.
Never.
Never.
But Cade's got a we use this analogy in fat burning and sugar burning yesterday with he's got this big old truck that's like the biggest truck in St. George and it's all jacked up and it's kind of like redneck and he only wears cowboy boots and Wranglers when he drives it. And then he's
I
got
wish that was
another.
the case.
Then he's got a Tesla that's his fat burning, his fat
Yeah.
adapted vehicle. So he's balanced his life out that way. But yeah, but Kate, do you crave more the sugar or like the gasoline, the buzz you get from driving your truck, or more the Model X speed and efficiency? What would you say?
It's more just what mood I'm in that day.
Well, like tell me on a Tuesday, what kind of mood are you typically on like a
On a
Tuesday?
Tuesday, that's typically Taco Tuesday. So I would say
You're driving your truck.
I'm
Okay.
driving my truck on Tuesday.
Yeah. So if Cade pulls up in his truck at work, he's eating a lot of carbs that day. And so you can shame
Mhm.
tell him that like he's being really evil and he may not make it to heaven. But then on the other days, when we'll let him into heaven. Okay.
Thanks, Reagan. I appreciate that.
Like
Aw,
that. I think
poor kid.
I do. So one analogy that Reagan's always used is that electric engine is a lot like running on fat as a fuel source, just because it's super efficient and the
Mhm.
power. If you look at how like 0 to 60 is just this consistent like skyrocketing speed compared to you take like a gasoline engine. It takes gears and transmission to get it up to certain speeds. So I've
I
always liked that analogy.
I use the analogy of a campfire. A log is, slow burning, and then your kindling burns quickly. So your log is the fat, and the kindling is the carbs that burns fast, and you want to have to keep reigniting that.
Oh, that's brilliant.
there you
I like
go.
that.
It's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, so if we talk about the health benefits of being fat adapted or being able to go in a ketogenic state, one of those big ones, and we're talking about fixing your relationship with food, and I know you've got this cool emotional eating course, and so I want to talk about that because I think that's something that gets missed a lot, and some of us are literally slaves to our food and we don't even realize it. When I ask patients, I'm like, well, we're going to have to limit your eating window to about 10 hours a day. And I'm like, yeah, that's like from, if your first meal is at 8 o'clock, first thing you put in your mouth, the last thing needs to be around 6 o'clock. And people's eyes get all wide, like, wait, no. Well, what about my bedtime snack? And what about my warm glass of milk? And, my little cookie? I'm like, well, you can use your teddy bear and we'll let you have that. And the Easter bunny will still come, but we just don't want you having that glass of milk and cookie before bed. So what is that? What is it that keeps us kind of enslaved by this drive for food, that need?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for asking. Yeah. I mean, listen, I love keto, low carb, but the fundamental thing over the last 5 years that I've really just experienced is, yeah, slave to food. I can't seem to stay on it. I'm on and off again, or I do really well. And then I celebrate because I lost all this weight. And then all of a sudden I celebrate. And then you take 2 steps back. And I just was like, okay, well, I'm giving you all the plans. I'm teaching you how to do keto. I'm teaching you why it's so important. But like, no, like the compliance was just not there. And I got frustrated because I want to help transform people. But we focus so much on like the how and the mechanics of it. But if you're not doing it, even though you know how to do it, or know it's very simple, but if you're not doing it, let's get to the root of why you're not doing it. Like what's going on there? How are you managing your stress? Because if you look, most people wake up in the morning and then all of a sudden it's 5 p.m. and they're face first into their fridge eating whatever because they probably didn't eat lunch or skip or you're in the hustle. So getting to that and exploring that has really been a game changer, and just really listening to people and all of these crazy stories that our brains create for us to not execute a diet is unpacking that and helping people rewrite the story. Like it's very easy for us to blame quarantine and the snacks, but like, did the quarantine and the snacks do that, or did you do that? So once I get to somebody to have this long, hard look in the mirror and be like, okay, I want to accept responsibility for where I'm at, and then start dealing with the emotions, because your emotions are what makes you make the decisions, right? Thoughts become emotions, emotions become actions, actions become your reality. So if you're not managing from the beginning your thoughts, nothing else is going to work. You're not going to make good decisions. So that is where I'm evolving into now.
Yeah, and your reality is your habits, right? And
Yeah.
so that's like what you have to face, and it's so hard to face reality because sometimes when it's habitual, it's just your subconscious mind, it's just primed, and so you're like, well, this
Yeah.
is what we do at night. We get home and we've worked hard and we've been stressed, and so we just eat in
I
front
deserve.
of the TV. I deserve, I'm entitled to, I'm American, therefore, no, or what?
Yes.
It's a free country,
Y-
Megan, don't tell me what to do.
yeah. Yeah. No, and I just think it's really important to just, really start working on this and exploring this, because again, the only diet that will work is the one that you're willing to do. So really figuring out what works for you is so important. And then and I've been there, like how long did I avoid my own things and do my own patterns and create my own story until my dad looked at me and was like, you look terrible. I mean, we could change the word, but it was just the thing that I needed. And it was nothing about what I was doing from a nutritional standpoint. I was doing the right things, but I was doing like all the emotions behind it and the sabotage behind it. I knew how to eat, I just wasn't doing it. So,
Yeah. Well, and I think so many people get stuck in that trap. So if you are stuck in the trap, then I know it sounds like it's like a master class that you've got. So get on the wait list. We'll give you guys an opportunity to do that with Mandy today. But I kind of want to jump into these kind of 5 pillars and just break it down. So let's talk to the people who are ready and they said, I want to become more fat adapted, because I think that's one of the most important things that all of us can do in life is get our cell membranes changed so that we can use that fat as an energy source. And we are just rounding up the end of our second 100-day fat burning challenge. And the week before this one is where we talked about fats. You know, before we ever get anyone into a fat adapted state, we say, well, let's make sure your liver is working properly and your gut's working properly. Let's get things cleaned out. And then you're ready to start adding in the fats. And that's when it's interesting, because that's when you'll see the most fat burning, is when you're actually eating fat. So it's not fat that gets us fat. And that's something that, you know, for all of you in our 100-day challenge, you know that concept. But let's talk about your 5 things that you discovered, you know, the hydration, the nutrition. I can't remember all of those, but you had 5
Okay.
really cool things. So can you rename those 5 things that you like to focus on?
Yeah. Nutrition,
Yep.
movement,
Movement.
self-care,
Hmm.
sleep, and hydration.
Okay. And so let's start with self-care, because we're talking about emotions, and you got to be nice to yourself when you're making big changes, because you're going to have days where you just suck at it. And so you're like,
Mm.
I'm never going to be able to eat this way. I can't do it. And you want to give up. So let's talk about self-care. We'll start with that one.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you put it at the top. I started out with nutrition being the first one, but it actually needs to be, they're all equally important. Self-care is not just bubble bath and nails, ladies. It's practicing boundaries, speaking your voice. It's saying no with a period and not having to explain yourself,
Mm.
getting really committed into why you're doing what you're doing, evaluating your commitments. Having tough conversations with people that you don't want to have, that you're avoiding. Like, all of this stuff contributes to stress and your ability to make good decisions nutritionally and all other 5 pillars. So it's important to make sure that you're actually looking at this part of your life in addition to self-development and making yourself a better person. Because if you're not growing, you're dying, right? So just really, making this a thing, and we think that self-care needs to be this meditation, practicing morning routines for several hours during the morning, got to wake up at 5 a.m. No, change the word from routine to ritual. Sometimes my morning routine is an hour of meditation and writing in my journal and crying and healing and releasing and doing all of that. But sometimes I have to be up at 6:30 in the morning to head to the gym, and I can only write in my journal for 2 seconds. So I set my intention of the day and it takes 1 minute. But the point is to set yourself up for success and really develop your mind first before you do anything throughout the day, for one. And then 2, all the other things that contribute to self-care, make sure that you are paying attention and what that looks like for you each day.
Got it. I love that. Yeah. So bubble baths and nails are okay, but it's not
Yes,
like,
love them.
it's just like, yeah, but there's other things you can do. And I like how you said create a boundary. And so I think there's 2 types of freedom that we're all looking for. One is freedom from something. Like, we want freedom from, you wanted freedom from pain, right? You wanted freedom
Mm-hmm.
from the poor health that you were experiencing. And then we need freedom to do something. And so some of you, if you don't say no, you're never going to get freedom to do that thing you want to do. If you don't set some boundaries with your kids or your spouse, or set boundaries with your rituals or your routines. I find that timed eating is the easiest way for me to just have good self-care, because I'm like, cool, I'm done eating at 7. I don't have to choose beyond that. I can read a book, I can relax. I'm not going to be focused on food. And so it's a easier pathway for me that way. What are some of the things you set up? What are some of the habitual triggers that you put in place so you do practice self-care?
For example, last night I said that I was going to go golf. I'm a horrible golfer, guys. But I need to practice. But I also golfed Saturday and Monday, and my stamina walking and doing all of that is definitely not where I want it to be. So my body just was not handling it. I was really exhausted yesterday. So instead of going to golf, I canceled and I didn't explain myself. It was just, I had to do what was best for me, make that decision. Yes, of course, I want to improve my golf game, absolutely. But do I want to be able to walk today and function and practice better later? Yes. So that is just an example of just a boundary. And, it's very easy for us to like justify, oh my God, well, I'm really sorry. My body hurts, like da da da. No, I just take ownership and have also communicated with my golf coach, like, hey, this is what happens. I think that boundaries are also important, and saying no is important, but also clear communication. I can't tell you how often people come to me and they're like, well, my family doesn't do keto and blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, but your family's not forcing you to eat pizza every day. Like, having that clear communication. Listen, I love you. I want to be around for as long as I humanly can. I need to do these things now in order for that to happen. Set a good example for my children and my home. So we just kind of forget that that is like one little degree shift in our behavior. Just having that conversation will yield so much great impact on how you operate throughout the day, because you clearly communicated, one, hey, I need to do this, and two, I would love your support.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a great book called Willpower Doesn't Work. Have you read that book?
Mhm.
Um,
I've heard of it. No, I have not committed to reading it.
okay, it's a great book. I mean,
Thank you.
it's and Atomic Habits, all these things, sometimes it's really good to just take a look at your environment and say, man, I really, I don't think there's anything wrong with expressing what you want and expressing what you don't want in life, right? But
Mhm.
as kids, our parents kind of teach us like, oh, don't be selfish and don't think only about yourself. But man, I can tell you, I love being around people who just have a really strong intention. When I sit down with somebody in a lab review or functional medicine visit, I'm like, where do you want to go from here? Do you want your health to stay the same, maybe get worse, or do you want to do something really dramatic and transformational? The people who want to
Mhm.
do something transformational are the ones on this show today. They're the ones, the thousands that we've worked with, and they've made the big changes, but it's only because they know what they want and know what they don't want. But in the book, Willpower Doesn't Work. And I think, Kay, did you just post that in the chat box? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, by
Yeah,
Benjamin Hardy.
when you were talking about boundaries and really just setting yourself up for success, that was the book I was thinking of. I was messaging Reagan trying to remember the book. You nailed it. Willpower doesn't work. That was what I was looking for.
Yeah, and just from a behavioral analysis, they did studies where they found that your environment will absolutely collapse you, no matter how in strong intention you are. If you don't set up some boundaries in your life, it's going to be really challenging. So that may be you may have to wake up. My wife wakes up at 4:45 every single morning. It's
Amazing.
crazy, and she has her ritual, and she's very fitness oriented. She's a Pilates instructor, then she's got a real estate business, and then she takes care of the house. She manages Reagan's craziness. So it's that's her hardest job, actually.
That is the
A-
most difficult job of all.
She's
Yeah,
a Reagan Wrangler.
yeah, she is. Yeah, yeah. I got rope burns to prove it.
Nice.
Yeah, but no, she's amazing, but she sets up a lifestyle that actually is supportive of that. So I think self-care, I think you nailed it when you said self-care is a lot less about let me go chill out at the spa today. And it's a lot
Mhm.
more about let me get real clear on what I want out of life and what I don't want out of life.
Yep. And then those things can change. And then also too, what I've found is like people don't manage their stress or check in with themselves throughout the day. So that leads to the emotional stress eating at night. So, and then the cravings as well from the chemical response to all of the stress. So it's a heck of a lot easier to manage that from an empowered place when you take 2 seconds. So, what I offer people, this will be the biggest pro tip y'all can take. Set some alarms throughout the day just to shake you out of your like routine, and you can change the alarm name to, hey, I'm awesome, or hey, what am I feeling right now, or hey, take a deep breath, right? It's those
Cool.
are very simple things that it sounds, again, people think that I'm going to change, like tell you this major transformational thing, but no, these are just small little habit changes that yield such big results just by getting you out of your own pattern.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge thing. And I believe you do that, Anne. Yeah, she's one of the most efficient human beings I've ever met and organized. And so she's the one that coordinated you being on this.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I think I believe she follows that principle, but I find it's really critical. So that's great advice. So anything else on self-care?
Oh man, I mean, I could talk about this all day. I just think, yeah, that was like the summary of it all, just unpacking all of that. Like, of course, like figuring out what we really want in life. Like, okay, it sounds really very simple, but
So,
making a decision and being empowered, like we could talk about that all day. Like, yeah, it's just
sure.
working on those things and recognizing these things and really just managing your stress throughout the day so that you're making empowered personal decisions, because empowered decisions come from personal power, not circumstantial power. And
Yeah.
we pull from circumstantial power, which is, your willpower and things like that, and motivation, which that's short lived, right? But personal power, knowing that you're okay, safe, and breathing, anything from there should be an empowered choice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And so let's talk about the second thing, which I think is, well, you could choose. I wanted to go into movement because I find that if you can get your body moving in the morning, if you can get your mindset right, then you can start thinking about like what you're putting in your body. But movement, is that an okay second thing to talk about, or you got something else you want to, where do you think this should go?
No, I love that. But and to kind of dial back for a second, like the pillars are the holding your foundation, right? So like think of it like you're sitting on a chair. If you knock one of those legs off, one's going to be off balance. But not everything is going to be your full intention every single day either. It's just making a commitment to do certain things every single day as much as you can. So what I really talk about is just setting your non-negotiable standards for these 5 pillars. Like each week, right? Because each week is going to be completely different. And sometimes you might even have to do them per day. But like, what are you willing to do for self care, movement, hydration, sleep, and your nutrition? And where you don't need to go from drinking 1 bottle a day to like a gallon a day, like you're going to take time. So what happens is when you set these non-negotiable, I don't care if my life is going to blow up today, I can drink 1 extra bottle of water. That is all I'm really willing to do, as long as you're making improvements week by week, day by day. So you have to just work on them. Like right now, my sleep pillar is terrible. I'm really working on that, but it's like that, but my self-care is like super on point, right? So that's just where I'm at this week. But like, okay, this week sleep sucked. But so now I'm going to make a commitment to work on my sleep next week and do a little bit differently than what I did this week. So take a deep breath and don't put so much pressure on yourself to even have to do these 5 things. Just set these non-negotiable, it does not matter goals, right? So if we want to move into movement, so often I see in like Facebook groups, or like people come into my Facebook group and they ask me, "Oh, well, can I do my wellness plan without exercise?" I'm like, "Why do you not want to move your body? Like it's not just about fat loss." And we've just thinking like we associate like movement with fat loss, and it's not just about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, movement is healing. I mean, without it, our bodies just atrophy. And so what are some of your favorite movements? I mean, there's yoga. We did some yoga stretches last night to get people moving. We gave all of our hack attendees a certain amount of steps, 4,400 minimum per day, y'all, if you forgot.
Mm.
And so, but what are some of the movements that you like?
Golf. I go to Top Golf, and then I go play short courses, and I play horribly at a really long course. So we're working on that. So I love movement. I really have been making that kind of my commitment because it's low impact and it's like really great to like help me build my muscles and my walking stamina.
Yeah.
But I also do athletic based training. So it is a gym membership basically, but it's like a class, and it's like a circuit class. So you just go there, do weight training and stuff like that. But I do a lot of modified just because of my joints. But it's a super supportive, amazing community. I would suggest, and I'm the type of person, listen, my minimum standard for at least 4 months, even as a health coach, was I'm going to go to the gym just 2 days a week. And that's all I could commit to for a really long time. And then I start to build up on it. So just commit to something that you're willing to do. So my 2 days a week was like going to that type of gym class. I also love stretching, Hot Works, which is like this sauna type yoga stretching place that it's an infrared sauna as well, which is amazing to just get your blood flowing and circulation and things like that. And then ultimately just like going for a beach walk because I'm here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I love doing that with the dogs. And then just going around and walking around with them in the neighborhood. Like, just go move your body.
Mhm. Love that. And I love Myrtle Beach. I got the best, speaking of sleep, I had the best sleep of my life. My senior trip, my cousin and I went to Myrtle Beach because we have family out there in North Carolina. So we drove
Mhm.
down to Myrtle Beach from Charlotte, and I slept so good. I had a lot of insomnia as a teenager. I was super
Oh, wow.
anxious and pushing hard. So yeah, I have fond memories of that place. So
Mhm.
so movement's great, and you can do it anytime, anywhere, but you just have to do it. That's the key. It's like your body's going to rust. Just like if you don't start a car for a year, that engine's going to start to seize up. So everything needs that. So Anne put in a couple things on self-care I wanted to read. I think this is great. She said, I have to find a balance with being real with myself, between being real with myself and also being gentle with myself, balancing the masculine and feminine sides of myself. Sometimes something that
Oh, wow.
me peace is actually just me avoiding discomfort. I don't think any of us have done that, Anne, where we just like denial is not just a river in Egypt. So, um, it says, but I see the value in being gentle and being real at the same time. That's the headspace I'm in when I've done EFT, so the emotional freedom technique. I think that's great. Thank you, Anne, because I think we all get in that space where, and sometimes I think it's okay when you don't have all the solutions to a conflict in your life. I think sometimes it's okay to just forget about it for a minute and then come back with a creative mind. So I think that's really good for the self-care piece. So we talked, movement's really a powerful thing. Where do you want to go from here? Because we got three more. We got sleep, we got hydration, we got nutrition.
Hydration, just drink water, be an adult. That's kind of what I say to people because so people are just like, well, I don't like water. I'm like, you're a human being. Like, you have to like water. I know it's not all their fault because they've been programmed to drink soft drinks and, sports drinks and all of that. So I get it, but you have to drink water, high quality H2O, not just
Yeah.
listen, I love me some sparkling water and stuff like that, but like you have to drink quality water. Um, and making sure that you are hydrating just because if your cells aren't hydrated and, performing at their best, you're not going to feel well either. So just drink water. That's my caveat on that. It's not a whole long deep dive. Um, and then sleep is just a whole thing as well, because most people, myself included, working on that as well, is breaking these sleep patterns. And by sleep patterns, I mean watching TV, being on electronics, having my ring light super bright at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Just because I'm trying to work and hustle, you know what I mean? But it's to the detriment of my own self. But we're doing this as well every single day. We're watching TV, playing on our iPads, trying to go to bed when we need to shut that stuff off and just get centered. Like, we're human, do, but like we're actually human beings. We just need to be. And when it comes to sleep, I think because we are on our electronics and watching TV and need to be stimulated all of the time or escape, we forget that and it's uncomfortable to actually be for a second.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm actually at with my journey. Just I've recognized that and I'm just like, okay, I really need to dial in, but I'm not going to be like, okay, today's the day. I'm not going to work until 10:30 at night forever, ever, and always. No, I'm at least one day a week. I am dialed out. Thursdays are my day of off for the most part. And I don't work late. And that's what I'm coming into right now and getting the feel of that and then building upon it and building the habit.
Love it.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Well, especially the red lights, the melopsin receptors. I mean, you need to be looking at the sun first thing in the morning to just reset your circadian rhythm so you sleep great at night. But if you're trying to sleep great at night and you got the blue lights, then you can't get the release of melatonin. So there's some things that we've set up in modern society that are not beneficial for our sleep patterns. And so taking a bath, going for a walk after dinner is a big favorite of mine. I like to go throw the ball for my dogs. My wife always says, "Are you really wanting to take the dogs for a walk, or is this for you?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's for me. Let's go." So
Yeah.
because she's usually exercised them already. So, but I think having those rituals is really critical. And then we do it as a family. We have just hard stop. We're all by 9:30. Everyone's relaxing. They're reading books. We're not in front of a screen. And the amount of nearsightedness in our society right now is just
Mm.
ridiculous. Like almost 90% of kids in China have some type of nearsightedness because we're not looking out into the distance anymore. We're seeing these shapes that are very, very symmetrical, and we're not looking at nature, which is non-symmetrical and three-dimensional. So, one of the things that I find is really helpful is looking at the view, looking at the horizon, especially at the sunset, is a great way to get your mind relaxed and ready for sleep. So looking at things that are far, far away, because when you have a problem in life, that's usually it keeps me awake at night. I don't know if you're the same, Mandy, but problems feel really close and in your face, right? And they're suffocating. And so if you can look out into the distance and capture a great view, and I'm always I try to live in houses where I have views everywhere, so it gets me outside of my problems, and that's been a huge help for me as well.
Yeah. I've actually caught myself the first thing in the morning the other day. Like I said, self-development is kind of something that I'm really working on as well, just like making myself developed so I can take it to the next level. And one thing that I've noticed is all of these patterns, and my brain is very busy. And for the first time, I actually caught myself going into oh my God, I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. And I was like, this is the first time I had this awareness. And you know what? I got through it just simply by breathing and reminding myself that like I'm okay, and like asking whatever you guys believe, like higher self or God or whatever. I just asked my higher self to like kind of come forward and just, it's okay, nothing, you're not going to go homeless, like everything's fine. Like I don't know, just we create these wild stories in our brains, and just calming that down and recognizing that's just not a real thought, and not having an emotion behind it, and just recognizing that these are all crazy thoughts that you can navigate through and make better decisions as your higher self. So that's something I really pay attention to now. But it was a cool awareness just for the first time in ever. So
Awesome, isn't it? Yeah, because it's really easy to write fiction in our brains, and
yeah.
fiction's
Yeah.
actually easier to write than nonfiction because our brains are hardwired to look for the negative, right? We're
Mhm.
programmed to just look for the threat. So realize, 17 times more you're writing fiction than nonfiction. So so
If you're gonna tell good stories, tell good ones.
there you go.
Tell real positive good ones.
Yes, I love it. Well, I think that's a really important key. And then, this is where you talk about nutrition, because now it feels like we're ready, because you can jump into a ketogenic diet, but if you don't have these other things in place, if you don't have a real like purpose in life, if you don't have something bigger that you're working towards, if you're not sleeping, not getting your hydration, not moving, you're not ready for a
Mhm.
ketogenic diet. And so now we've got a few minutes here, but you have the shirt that says drink ketones on, and so
Yes.
so let's talk about ways that people can actually now start influencing this fat adapted lifestyle and diet. What are some of the nutritional pillars?
Yeah. So listen, the only diets that going to work is the one that you're willing to do. When I was doing my own journey, I was following Mark Sisson, and all of the paleo blogs, because there was no keto at the time, I mean, it was actually, but it just wasn't written about outside of medical professionals.
Sure, yeah, it's for
And
yeah.
yeah, so I followed Mark Sisson for so long, but like I was doing paleo, but like it wasn't really like his way. Like I was eating a little cheese, and I was developing these complexes around like letting Mark Sisson down. Again, I was telling this crazy story. So I just want to say this with the caveat, like the only way, right according to who, you have to do what works for you. You don't need to do it right. Right. So pick stuff that works for you and do what works for you, and don't worry about doing it wrong. Just do something, because what's the alternative to where you are right now, right? So I
Mhm.
just want to say that, because the brain, we all make these excuses as to why we can't, because we think we're doing it wrong, but you're not doing it wrong. Don't mess good enough up for perfect. But eating a ketogenic diet is just meats, veggies, healthy fats. It is that simple. Like people make fun of, we like have like a little song in like in my group, like, what is the best thing I taught you? Meats, veggies, healthy fats. It's not that hard. Like just literally say this to yourself over and over again. So what I teach is 90% of your diet should be a meat, And I'm not talking about hot dogs or pepperoni. I'm talking about real good meat. And don't worry so much about like organic or not, especially if you're starting out. Just eat meats, cook non-starchy veggies, and cook it in a healthy fat, which is like butter or avocado or coconut oil or something like that. That is it.
That's it. Easy. Add some
Yeah,
salt and you're good.
salt and pepper and do that. Yeah, and don't fear protein. Enjoy it. Like eat it. But then that allows you, if you do that for most of your diet and you're just paying attention to your meals and they're meat and a veggie and cooked in healthy fat, you're going to see the results if you're doing the other pillars, and you're never going to have to like count your macros and like make sure that you're balanced and all of that. Like just eat meat, veggies, healthy fats for most of your diet. And then when who cooks the bread? Somebody comes, gives you some bread. You can enjoy a piece of bread on occasion and don't worry about it. And then if you really want, you can enjoy some pure therapeutic ketones or exogenous ketones to utilize ketones in your body without having to do the aggressive diet for so long. But again, that's just a tool. So that's
Yeah.
the premise of what I teach.
I like that. And so, I mean, are you using like beta hydroxybutyrate or the acetones, or what type of ketones are your favorites?
Yeah, so I use the only pure therapeutic ketone on the market. It's actually the exact BHB that unlocks your, that's bioidentical. So think of it like a key. So you're putting the key in the hole, and some of these BHBs that you can get from Walmart or something like that will not unlock ketosis fully. You can just put the key in and that's it. So you need more and more and more to actually start utilizing them. The ones that I use are pure therapeutic ketones, and they're the ones that actually unlock the key. So your body has no idea if you drank them or if you did the aggressive diet. Once it gets into the bloodstream, it utilizes it the same. So those are the ones that I use.
Right.
And if anybody needs any info, you can just text me or add me as a friend on Facebook.
Perfect. Yeah. So, and I think that's a great way. And then the meats are really, that's key, because what you'll find is it's satiating. So
Oh
you
my
don't
God, yeah.
feel like you're depleted in something. And then I find that on my active days, I mean, I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to counting things, but I'm finding I'm eating about 2 to 3 pounds of meat. And my wife thinks it's ridiculous when I'm doing my extreme ketosis state, but I just feel great. I don't have the sugar cravings.
Yeah.
And I do really well on venison. I do really well on the steaks, lamb. Those are really good meats that can keep your body burning in a really clean way.
Yeah. I did actually a carnivore diet for about 30 days. And I just from science, I just really wanted to see what it was all about. And honestly, I really have transitioned from like again, I hate diet labels. Like I guess if you had to label something, it's ketovore, but really, really high protein, mainly meat. And I feel so amazing. Like it really is. Stop fearing for protein, get on with your bad steak self and enjoy it because it will give you all the nutrients you need. So
Yeah, yeah, and so much better. Those some of the plant proteins, the pea proteins, totally inflammatory. And so, a lot of times when you're trying to up your protein game, you get in some of those plant proteins, and it causes bloating, gas, all those
yeah.
things. So the meats tend to be easier to digest, and it's actually a very clean way of eating. And so what we're going to do is Cade is going to take us in his big redneck truck, and we're going to go hunting. And then that will kind of be the way we can splice in the keto carnivore solution here. What do you
Love
say,
it.
Cade?
Let's do it. Sign me up.
Let's do it. Awesome. All right. So Bev, yeah, and there's great buffalo meat available at Buffalo Ranch Store in Woodland. Yes, and I've got their bison tongue. I've got bison liver from there. They do have some of the offal, because if you're doing this kind of diet, you do have to eat some organ meat at least once a week. So, so yeah, but that's another conversation, and we're in need of wrapping it up. So Mandy, thanks so much for being on the show. What is a great way that people can contact you?
So you could go to ketoclubwithmandy.com, and that is a link to my Facebook group that is near and dear to my heart. Creating community is so important. Whether you're keto burrito, I want to support you on your journey. And then mandyp.com is my website with my Instagram and all of that stuff all linked there as well. So I would love to just connect with you. And hey, shoot me a DM. I talk to everybody. I manage my own stuff. So I really would love to just connect, and anybody that was called to talk about whatever, um, shoot me a message and say hi.
Awesome.
So cool. Well, thanks so much, Mandy and Reagan. Awesome show today. We'll be back, everybody, same time, same place next week. Really looking forward to that. And make sure you're participating in the Hack Challenge of the week. And remember our sponsor, the podcast, the show today is thesmartmedicine.com. Check out thesmartmedicine.com for any of your supplement needs. Have an awesome day, everybody. Bye-bye.